Alrighty, welcome to today's lesson in Foundations of English. Today, our topic is going to be how to cite sources using APA format. It's going to be our main topic for today, our only topic, and we're going to break it down into smaller chunks so we make sure we know how to do it. So, first off, we're going to start with what is a citation? A citation is when you use a quote from a different thing that you did not write and you put it into your own paper. So maybe you're using a sentence from a textbook or a paragraph from a book you just read, and you're going to put that into your own paper. And we want to make sure we don't plagiarize, so that's why we use a citation. And why else do we use citations? We might use citations to use evidence from textbooks or readings. We want our writing to be stronger, so if we use evidence in our writing, then we can have a stronger paper that we just wrote. And it also might show that you read a book or read the text if you're using a citation in your paper. It's just important to use citations to maybe prove your point and make sure your reader understands what you're talking about. So we're going to go over some vocab today that might relate to citations. So vocab number 1, a quote. So the dictionary definition of a quote is to repeat or copy out a group of words from a text or speech, typically with an indication that one is not the original author or speaker. So that's kind of long. So if we want to maybe break it down, a quote is when you might take a sentence from something, maybe a book, a textbook, whatever it might be, and you put it into something that is yours. And so we make it a quote. Paraphrasing is our next vocab word, vocab number 2. And the dictionary definition is expressing the meaning of the writer or speaker or something written or spoken, usually using different words, especially to achieve greater clarity. So, kind of make this a little simpler for us. Paraphrasing maybe is when we take a quote from a book and we kind of change it up a little bit so it's our own words. So as you can see here in this example, we have the first example would be Shayla's dog ran. So if we wanted to take that and put it into our own words, you could say her dog scurried. So that's kind of paraphrasing, is taking something and making it your own words. Our third vocab word is going to be summarizing. So the dictionary definition is to give a brief statement of the main points of something. So here in our example here, we have a longer little paragraph written that says, her dog ran really fast to the beach. They sat down and had lunch, which was a sandwich. So maybe if you're summarizing that to somebody else, you might say, her and her dog hung out at the beach and they ate. Our fourth vocab word is plagiarism. So the dictionary definition of plagiarism is the practice of taking someone else's work or ideas and passing them off as one's own. So a great example of plagiarism that I'm sure we're all aware of would be ChatGPT. If we're doing an assignment and we want to use ChatGPT for it and we just copy and paste from ChatGPT, that's not your work, but it's ChatGPT's work, but we're still copy and pasting it and pretending it's our own. So that would be an example of plagiarism. Our fifth vocab word is going to be in-text citations. Again, there's that important word that we're talking about, citation. So the dictionary definition of an in-text citation is it's a brief reference to a source that appears in the body of a text. It's also known as a parenthetical reference. So in short, an in-text citation would be when you are writing something and you put a citation in the middle of your writing. That would be an in-text citation because you're using a quote and you're putting it in your own work. So now that we know all these vocab words and we kind of understand a little bit more about citations, we're going to explain how to correctly cite a text. We'll break it down into steps. We'll go slowly to make sure we do it right. So step 1, that's going to be Find the information in the textbook you are using. So as we can see in this picture, we've got someone holding their book, and they've found what they want to use as their evidence, maybe in their paper they're writing. So once you've found that, step 2 is we're going to type out on the document that we're writing one of the following statements. So maybe we could use in the text it states, or say we were using a book written or a book named The Giving Tree. You would say, in The Giving Tree it says, or if we're using The Giving Tree, it's written by Shel Silverstein, you might say, Shel Silverstein states. We want to make sure that we can kind of see after all of these sentences there's a comma. We want to make sure to remember that comma. It's super important. So step 3, after that comma that we made sure to write down, we would copy down what the text says. So what we found in our book, we would copy that down. After in the text it states, or in this book it states, we're going to write down exactly what we found in the text, word for word, but we're going to put quotation marks around it. So say the sentence starts with the, you'll put the quotation marks in front of the T, and say it ends with the word dog. You'd put the quotation marks after dog. So can't forget those important quotation marks. After that, step 4, after those quotation marks, we want to make sure that we're giving credit to whoever wrote the citation that we're using. So for example, if we're reading a book by someone with the last name Walls, after the quotation marks, we would put Walls and then the page number you found it on. So we can kind of see this example here, Walls 46. And we want to make sure we surround that by parentheses. Walls is the author's last name, and 46 is the page number. Then after we have that, step 5, we want to add a period after the final parenthesis. So we can kind of see here, we have got Walls 46, parenthesis, period. So I want to make sure we don't forget that period in the right placement. And that's our final step. So this is kind of an example of what an in-text citation would look like correctly and how we would do it incorrectly. So the correct one says, in the text it states, comma, quotation mark, and the tree was happy, quotation mark. Silverstein 52 inside the parentheses and a period outside. That's all the steps that we just talked about, and so that's the correct way to cite a text. Here on the incorrect side, we have, it said the tree was happy in the book. Well, we're not using quotations, we're not giving credit to who wrote that, we didn't follow any of the steps we just talked about, so that one would be very incorrect. So if we kind of look at it all again, citing sources, the importance of them is we want to make sure we're not plagiarizing. Plagiarizing is something that's really bad. We never want to do it. If you're in high school or college, plagiarizing could get you into big trouble. We never want to steal somebody else's work. Citing sources is important because we want to use evidence in our work. If we're trying to write a paper and we are trying to prove a point, we want to make sure that we're using that correct evidence in our paper. And we also want to sound like stronger writers. If you're using evidence from outside sources, which would be a textbook or a book, your writing is going to sound really good because you're using evidence from other sources. And it shows that you also did research. And again, like I already said, it helps to prove the point that you're trying to prove. So hopefully after watching this video, we have a little bit better of an idea on how to cite sources and we can do it correctly in our next assignment.